Section 023 of the Book of Household Management. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anne Cheng. The Book of Household Management by Isabella Beeton. Recipes. Chapter 10, Part 4. Italian Sauce, Brown. 453. Ingredients: a few chopped mushrooms and shallots, half a pint of stock, No. 105, half a glass of Madeira, the juice of half a lemon, half a teaspoonful of pounded sugar, 1 teaspoonful of chopped parsley. Mode. Put the stock into a stewpan with the mushrooms, shallots, and Madeira, and stew gently for 1/4 hour. Then add the remaining ingredients and let them just boil. When the sauce is done enough, put it in another stewpan and warm it in a bain-marie. See No. 430. The mushrooms should not be chopped long before they are wanted, as they will then become black. Time 1/4 hour. Average cost for this quantity 7d. Sufficient for a small dish. Italian sauce, white. 454. Ingredients: half a pint of white stock, No. 107, 2 tablespoonfuls of chopped mushrooms, 1 dessertspoonful of chopped shallots, 1 slice of ham minced very fine, 1/4 pint of béchamel, No. 367, salt to taste, a few drops of garlic vinegar, half a teaspoonful of pounded sugar, a squeeze of lemon juice. Mode. Put the shallots and mushrooms into a stewpan with the stock and ham, and simmer very gently for half an hour, when add the béchamel. Let it just boil up, and then strain it through a tammy. Season with the above ingredients, and serve very hot. If this sauce should not have retained a nice white colour, a little cream may be added. Time half an hour. Average cost for this quantity 10d. Sufficient for a moderate sized dish. Note. To preserve the colour of the mushrooms after pickling, throw them into water to which a little lemon juice has been added. To pickle lemons with the peel on. 455. Ingredients: 6 lemons, 2 quarts of boiling water. To each quart of vinegar allow half an ounce of cloves, half an ounce of white pepper, 1 ounce of bruised ginger, 1/4 ounce of mace and chilies, 1 ounce of mustard seed, half a stick of sliced horseradish, a few cloves of garlic. Mode. Put the lemons into a brine that will bear an egg. Let them remain in it 6 days, stirring them every day. Have ready 2 quarts of boiling water. Put in the lemons, and allow them to boil for 1/4 hour. Take them out and let them lie in a cloth until perfectly dry and cold. Boil up sufficient vinegar to cover the lemons, with all the above ingredients, allowing the same proportion as stated to each quart of vinegar. Pack the lemons in a jar, pour over the vinegar, etc., boiling hot, and tie down with a bladder. They will be fit for use in about 12 months, or rather sooner. Seasonable. This should be made from November to April. The lemon. In the earlier ages of the world, the lemon does not appear to have been at all known, and the Romans only became acquainted with it at a very late period, and then only used it to keep moths from their garments. Its acidity would seem to have been unpleasant to them, and in Pliny's time, at the commencement of the Christian era, this fruit was hardly accepted, otherwise than as an excellent antidote against the effects of poison. Many anecdotes have been related concerning the antivenomous properties of the lemon. Athenaeus, a Latin writer, telling us that on one occasion 2 men felt no effects from the bites of dangerous serpents, because they had previously eaten of the fruit. To pickle lemons without the peel. 456. Ingredients: 6 lemons, 1 pound of fine salt. To each quart of vinegar the same ingredients as No. 455. Mode. Peel the lemons, slit each one down 3 times, so as not to divide them, and rub the salt well into the divisions. Place them in a pan where they must remain for a week, turning them every other day. Then put them in a Dutch oven before a clear fire, until the salt has become perfectly dry. Then arrange them in a jar. Pour over sufficient boiling vinegar to cover them, to which have been added the ingredients mentioned in the foregoing recipe. Tie down closely, and in about 9 months they will be fit for use. Seasonable. The best time to make this is from November to April. Note. After this pickle has been made from 4 to 5 months, the liquor may be strained and bottled, and will be found an excellent lemon ketchup. Lemon juice. Citric acid is the principal component part of lemon juice, which, in addition to the agreeableness of its flavour, is also particularly cooling and grateful. It is likewise an antiscorbutic, and this quality enhances its value. In order to combat the fatal effects of scurvy amongst the crews of ships at sea, a regular allowance of lemon juice is served out to the men, and by this practice the disease has almost entirely disappeared. By putting the juice into bottles and pouring on the top sufficient oil to cover it, it may be preserved for a considerable time. Italy and Turkey export great quantities of it in this manner. Lemon sauce for boiled fowls. 457. Ingredients: 1 small lemon, 3/4 pint of melted butter, No. 380. Mode. Cut the lemon into very thin slices, and these again into very small dice. Have ready 3/4 pint of melted butter made by recipe No. 380. Put in the lemon, let it just simmer but not boil, and pour it over the fowls. Time. 1 minute to simmer. Average cost 6d. Sufficient for a pair of large fowls. Lemon white sauce for fowls, fricassees, etc. 458. Ingredients: 3/4 pint of cream, the rind and juice of 1 lemon, half a teaspoonful of whole white pepper, 1 sprig of lemon thyme, 3 ounces of butter, 1 dessertspoonful of flour, 1 teacupful of white stock, salt to taste. Mode. Put the cream into a very clean saucepan, a lined one is best, with the lemon peel, pepper and thyme, and let these infuse for half an hour, when simmer gently for a few minutes, or until there is a nice flavour of lemon. Strain it, and add a thickening of butter and flour in the above proportions. Stir this well in, and put in the lemon juice at the moment of serving. Mix the stock with the cream, and add a little salt. This sauce should not boil after the cream and stock are mixed together. Time. Altogether 3/4 hour. Average cost 1s. 6d. Sufficient, this quantity, for a pair of large boiled fowls. Note. Where the expense of the cream is objected to, milk may be substituted for it. In this case, an additional dessertspoonful, or rather more, of flour must be added. Lemon thyme. 2 or 3 tufts of this species of thyme, Thymus citriodorus, usually find a place in the herb compartment of the kitchen garden. It is a trailing evergreen, is of smaller growth than the common kind, and is remarkable for its smell, which closely resembles that of the rind of a lemon, hence its distinctive name. It is used for some particular dishes in which the fragrance of the lemon is desired to slightly predominate. Lymington sauce, an excellent sauce for flavouring gravies, hashes, soups, etc. Author's recipe. 459. Ingredients: walnuts. To each quart of walnut juice allow 3 quarts of vinegar, 1 pint of Indian soy, 1 ounce of cayenne, 2 ounces of shallots, 3/4 ounce of garlic, half a pint of port wine. Mode. Be very particular in choosing the walnuts as soon as they appear in the market, for they are more easily bruised before they become hard and shelled. Pound them in a mortar to a pulp, strew some salt over them, and let them remain thus for 2 or 3 days, occasionally stirring and moving them about. Press out the juice, and to each quart of walnut liquor allow the above proportion of vinegar, soy, cayenne, shallots, garlic, and port wine. Pound each ingredient separately in a mortar, then mix them well together, and store away for use in small bottles. The corks should be well sealed. Seasonable. This sauce should be made as soon as walnuts are obtainable, from the beginning to the middle of July. Lemon brandy. 460. Ingredients: 1 pint of brandy, the rind of 2 small lemons, 2 ounces of loaf sugar, 1/4 pint of water. Mode. Peel the lemons rather thin, taking care to have none of the white pith. Put the rinds into a bottle with the brandy, and let them infuse for 24 hours, when they should be strained. Now boil the sugar with the water for a few minutes, skim it, and, when cold, add it to the brandy. A dessertspoonful of this will be found an excellent flavouring for boiled custards. Lemon rind or peel. This contains an essential oil of a very high flavour and fragrance, and is consequently esteemed both a wholesome and agreeable stomachic. It is used, as will be seen by many recipes in this book, as an ingredient for flavouring a number of various dishes. Under the name of candied lemon peel, it is cleared of the pulp and preserved by sugar, when it becomes an excellent sweetmeat. By the ancient medical philosopher Galen and others, it may be added, that dried lemon peel was considered as one of the best digestives, and recommended to weak and delicate persons. Liaison of eggs for thickening sauces. 461. Ingredients: the yolks of 3 eggs, 8 tablespoonfuls of milk or cream. Mode. Beat up the yolks of the eggs, to which add the milk, and strain the whole through a hair sieve. When the liaison is being added to the sauce it is intended to thicken, care must be exercised to keep stirring it during the whole time, or otherwise the eggs will curdle. It should only just simmer, but not boil. Liver and lemon sauce for poultry. 462. Ingredients: the liver of a fowl, 1 lemon, salt to taste, half a pint of melted butter, No. 376. Mode. Wash the liver and let it boil for a few minutes. Peel the lemon very thin, remove the part and pips, and cut it into very small dice. Mince the liver and a small quantity of the lemon rind very fine. Add these ingredients to half a pint of smoothly made melted butter, season with a little salt, put in the cut lemon, heat it gradually, but do not allow it to boil, lest the butter should oil. Time. 1 minute to simmer. Sufficient to serve with a pair of small fowls. Liver and parsley sauce for poultry. 463. Ingredients: the liver of a fowl, 1 tablespoonful of minced parsley, half a pint of melted butter, No. 376. Mode. Wash and score the liver, boil it for a few minutes, and mince it very fine. Blanch or scald a small bunch of parsley, of which there should be sufficient when chopped to fill a tablespoon. Add this with the minced liver to half a pint of smoothly made melted butter. Let it just boil, when serve. Time. 1 minute to simmer. Sufficient for a pair of small fowls. Lobster sauce, to serve with turbot, salmon, brill, etc. Very good. 464. Ingredients: 1 middling-sized hen lobster, 3/4 of a pint of melted butter, No. 376, 1 tablespoonful of anchovy sauce, half an ounce of butter, salt and cayenne to taste, a little pounded mace when liked, 2 or 3 tablespoonfuls of cream. Mode. Choose a hen lobster, as this is indispensable in order to render this sauce as good as it ought to be. Pick the meat from the shells, and cut it into small square pieces. Put the spawn, which will be found under the tail of the lobster, into a mortar, with half an ounce of butter, and pound it quite smooth. Rub it through a hair sieve, and cover up till wanted. Make 3/4 of a pint of melted butter by recipe No. 376. Put in all the ingredients except the lobster meat, and well mix the sauce before the lobster is added to it, as it should retain its square form, and not come to table shredded and ragged. Put in the meat. Let it get thoroughly hot, but do not allow it to boil, as the colour would immediately be spoiled, for it should be remembered that this sauce should always have a bright red appearance. If it is intended to be served with turbot or brill, a little of the spawn, dried and rubbed through a sieve without butter, should be saved to garnish with, but as the goodness, flavour, and appearance of the sauce so much depend on having a proper quantity of spawn, the less used for garnishing the better. Time. 1 minute to simmer. Average cost for this quantity, 2 shillings. Seasonable at any time. Sufficient to serve with a small turbot, a brill, or salmon for 6 persons. Note. Melted butter made with milk No. 380 will be found to answer very well for lobster sauce, as by employing it a nice white colour will be obtained. Less quantity than the above may be made by using a very small lobster, to which add only half a pint of melted butter, and season as above. Where economy is desired, the cream may be dispensed with, and the remains of a cold lobster left from table may, with a little care, be converted into a very good sauce. Maître d'hôtel butter, for putting into broiled fish just before it is sent to table. 465. Ingredients: 1/4 pound of butter, 2 dessertspoonfuls of minced parsley, salt and pepper to taste, the juice of 1 large lemon. Mode. Work the above ingredients well together, and let them be thoroughly mixed with a wooden spoon. If this is used as a sauce, it may be poured either under or over the meat or fish it is intended to be served with. Average cost for this quantity, 5d. Note. 4 tablespoonfuls of Béchamel No. 367, 2 ditto of white stock No. 107, with 2 ounces of the above maître d'hôtel butter stirred into it, and just allowed to simmer for 1 minute, will be found an excellent hot maître d'hôtel sauce. The maître d'hôtel. The house steward of England is synonymous with the maître d'hôtel of France, and in ancient times, amongst the Latins, he was called procurator or major domo. In Rome, the slaves, after they had procured the various articles necessary for the repasts of the day, would return to the spacious kitchen laden with meat, game, sea fish, vegetables, fruit, etc. Each one would then lay his basket at the feet of the major domo, who would examine its contents and register them on his tablets, placing in the pantry contiguous to the dining room those of the provisions which need no preparation, and consigning the others to the more immediate care of the cooks. Maître d'hôtel sauce, hot, to serve with calf's head, boiled eels, and different fish. 466. Ingredients. 1 slice of minced ham, a few poultry trimmings, 2 shallots, 1 clove of garlic, 1 bay leaf, 3/4 of a pint of water, 2 ounces of butter, 1 dessertspoonful of flour, 1 heaped tablespoonful of chopped parsley, salt, pepper and cayenne to taste, the juice of half a large lemon, 1/4 teaspoonful of pounded sugar. Mode. Put at the bottom of a stewpan the minced ham, and over it the poultry trimmings. If these are not at hand, a veal should be substituted, with the shallots, garlic, and bay leaf. Pour in the water, and let the whole simmer gently for 1 hour, or until the liquor is reduced to a full ½ pint. Then strain this gravy, put it in another saucepan, make a thickening of butter and flour in the above proportions, and stir it to the gravy over a nice clear fire until it is perfectly smooth and rather thick, care being taken that the butter does not float on the surface. Skim well, add the remaining ingredients, let the sauce gradually heat, but do not allow it to boil. If this sauce is intended for an entree, it is necessary to make it of a sufficient thickness, so that it may adhere to what it is meant to cover. Time 1 1/2 hours. Average cost 1s. 2d. per pint. Sufficient for rewarming the remains of half a calf's head, or a small dish of cold flaked turbot, cod, etc. Maigre maître d'hôtel sauce, hot, made without meat. 467. Ingredients. Half a pint of melted butter No. 376, 1 heaped tablespoonful of chopped parsley, salt and pepper to taste, the juice of half a large lemon, when liked, 2 minced shallots. Mode. Make half a pint of melted butter by recipe No. 376, stir in the above ingredients and let them just boil, when it is ready to serve. Time 1 minute to simmer. Average cost 9d. per pint. Mayonnaise, a sauce or salad dressing for cold chicken, meat, and other cold dishes. 468. Ingredients. The yolks of 2 eggs, 6 tablespoonfuls of salad oil, 4 tablespoonfuls of vinegar, salt and white pepper to taste, 1 tablespoonful of white stock No. 107, 2 tablespoonfuls of cream. Mode. Put the yolks of the eggs into a basin, with a seasoning of pepper and salt. Have ready the above quantities of oil and vinegar in separate vessels. Add them very gradually to the eggs. Continue stirring and rubbing the mixture with a wooden spoon, as herein consists the secret of having a nice smooth sauce. It cannot be stirred too frequently, and it should be made in a very cool place, or, if ice is at hand, it should be mixed over it. When the vinegar and oil are well incorporated with the eggs, add the stock and cream, stirring all the time, and it will then be ready for use. For a fish mayonnaise, this sauce may be coloured with lobster spawn, pounded, and for poultry or meat, where variety is desired, a little parsley juice may be used to add to its appearance. Cucumber, tarragon, or any other flavoured vinegar may be substituted for plain where they are liked. Average cost for this quantity 7d. Sufficient for a small salad. Note. In mixing the oil and vinegar with the eggs, put in first a few drops of oil, and then a few drops of vinegar, never adding a large quantity of either at one time. By this means you can be more certain of the sauce not curdling. Patience and practice, let us add, are too essential for making this sauce good. Mint sauce to serve with roast lamb. 469. Ingredients: 4 dessertspoonfuls of chopped mint, 2 dessertspoonfuls of pounded white sugar, 1/4 pint of vinegar. Mode. Wash the mint, which should be young and fresh gathered, free from grit, pick the leaves from the stalks, mince them very fine, and put them into a tureen. Add the sugar and vinegar, and stir till the former is dissolved. This sauce is better by being made 2 or 3 hours before wanted for table, as the vinegar then becomes impregnated with the flavour of the mint. By many persons the above proportion of sugar would not be considered sufficient, but as tastes vary, we have given the quantity which we have found to suit the general palate. Average cost, 3d. Sufficient to serve with a middling sized joint of lamb. Note. Where green mint is scarce and not obtainable, mint vinegar may be substituted for it, and will be found very acceptable in early spring. Mint. The common mint cultivated in our gardens is known as the Mentha viridis, and is employed in different culinary processes, being sometimes boiled with certain dishes, and afterwards withdrawn. It has an agreeable aromatic flavour, and forms an ingredient in soups, and sometimes is used in spring salads. It is valuable as a stomachic and antispasmodic, on which account it is generally served at table with pea soup. Several of its species grow wild in low situations in the country. Mint vinegar. 470. Ingredients: vinegar, mint. Mode. Procure some nice fresh mint, pick the leaves from the stalks, and fill a bottle or jar with them. Add vinegar to them until the bottle is full, cover closely to exclude the air, and let it infuse for a fortnight. Then strain the liquor, and put it into small bottles for use, of which the corks should be sealed. Seasonable. This should be made in June, July, or August. Mixed pickle. Very good. 471. Ingredients: to each gallon of vinegar allow 1/4 pound of bruised ginger, 1/4 pound of mustard, 1/4 pound of salt, 2 ounces of mustard seed, 1 1/2 ounces of turmeric, 1 ounce of ground black pepper, 1/4 ounce of cayenne, cauliflowers, onions, celery, sliced cucumbers, gherkins, French beans, nasturtiums, capsicums. Mode. Have a large jar with a tightly fitting lid, in which put as much vinegar as required, reserving a little to mix the various powders to a smooth paste. Put into a basin the mustard, turmeric, pepper, and cayenne. Mix them with the vinegar, and stir well until no lumps remain. Add all the ingredients to the vinegar, and mix well. Keep this liquor in a warm place, and thoroughly stir every morning for a month with a wooden spoon, when it will be ready for the different vegetables to be added to it. As these come into season, have them gathered on a dry day, and after merely wiping them with a cloth to free them from moisture, put them into the pickle. The cauliflowers, it may be said, must be divided into small bunches. Put all these into the pickle raw, and at the end of the season, when there have been added as many of the vegetables as could be procured, store it away in jars and tie over with bladder. As none of the ingredients are boiled, this pickle will not be fit to eat till 12 months have elapsed. Whilst the pickle is being made, keep a wooden spoon tied to the jar, and its contents, it may be repeated, must be stirred every morning. Seasonable. Make the pickle liquor in May or June, as the season arrives for the various vegetables to be picked. Mushroom ketchup. 472. Ingredients: to each peck of mushrooms 1/2 pound of salt, to each quart of mushroom liquor 1/4 ounce of cayenne, 1/2 ounce of allspice, 1/2 ounce of ginger, 2 blades of pounded mace. Mode. Choose full-grown mushroom flaps, and take care they are perfectly fresh gathered when the weather is tolerably dry, for if they are picked during very heavy rain, the ketchup from which they are made is liable to get musty, and will not keep long. Put a layer of them in a deep pan, sprinkle salt over them, and then another layer of mushrooms, and so on alternately. Let them remain for a few hours, when break them up with the hand, put them in a nice cool place for 3 days, occasionally stirring and mashing them well, to extract from them as much juice as possible. Now measure the quantity of liquor without straining, and to each quart allow the above proportion of spices, etc. Put all into a stone jar, cover it up very closely, put it in a saucepan of boiling water, set it over the fire, and let it boil for 3 hours. Have ready a nice clean stewpan, turn into it the contents of the jar, and let the whole simmer very gently for half an hour. Pour it into a jug, where it should stand in a cool place till the next day. Then pour it off into another jug, and strain it into very dry clean bottles, and do not squeeze the mushrooms. To each pint of ketchup add a few drops of brandy. Be careful not to shake the contents, but leave all the sediment behind in the jug. Cork well, and either seal or rosin the cork, so as perfectly to exclude the air. When a very clear bright ketchup is wanted, the liquor must be strained through a very fine hair sieve, or flannel bag, after it has been very gently poured off. If the operation is not successful, it must be repeated until you have quite a clear liquor. It should be examined occasionally, and if it is spoiling, should be re-boiled with a few peppercorns. Seasonable from the beginning of September to the middle of October, when this ketchup should be made. Note: this flavouring ingredient, if genuine and well prepared, is one of the most useful store sauces to the experienced cook, and no trouble should be spared in its preparation. Double ketchup is made by reducing the liquor to half the quantity. For example, 1 quart must be boiled down to 1 pint. This goes farther than ordinary ketchup, as so little is required to flavour a good quantity of gravy. The sediment may also be bottled for immediate use, and will be found to answer for flavouring thick soups or gravies. How to distinguish mushrooms from toadstools. The cultivated mushroom, known as Agaricus campestris, may be distinguished from other poisonous kinds of fungi by its having pink or flesh-coloured gills, or underside, and by its invariably having an agreeable smell, which the toadstool has not. When young, mushrooms are like a small round button, both the stalk and head being white. As they grow larger, they expand their heads by degrees into a flat form, the gills underneath being at first of a pale flesh colour, but becoming, as they stand longer, dark brown or blackish. Nearly all the poisonous kinds are brown, and have in general a rank and putrid smell. Edible mushrooms are found in closely fed pastures, but seldom grow in woods, where most of the poisonous sorts are to be found. To dry mushrooms. 473. Mode. Wipe them clean, take away the brown part and peel off the skin. Lay them on sheets of paper to dry, in a cool oven, when they will shrivel considerably. Keep them in paper bags which hang in a dry place. When wanted for use, put them into cold gravy, bring them gradually to a simmer, and it will be found that they will regain nearly their usual size. The mushroom. The cultivated or garden mushroom is a species of fungus which in England is considered the best, and is there usually eaten. The tribe, however, is numerous, and a large proportion of them are poisonous. Hence it is always dangerous to make use of mushrooms gathered in their wild state. In some parts of Europe, as in Germany, Russia, and Poland, many species grow wild and are used as food, but in Britain 2 only are generally eaten. These are mostly employed for the flavouring of dishes, and are also dried and pickled. Catsup, or ketchup, is made from them by mixing spices and salt with their juice. The young, called buttons, are the best for pickling when in a globular form. Brown mushroom sauce to serve with roast meat, etc. 474. Ingredients. Half a pint of button mushrooms, half a pint of good beef gravy No. 435, 1 tablespoonful of mushroom ketchup if at hand, thickening of butter and flour. Mode. Put the gravy into a saucepan, thicken it, and stir over the fire until it boils. Prepare the mushrooms by cutting off the stalks and wiping them free from grit and dirt. The large flat mushrooms cut into small pieces will answer for a brown sauce when the buttons are not obtainable. Put them into the gravy and let them simmer very gently for about 10 minutes. Then add the ketchup and serve. Time. Rather more than 10 minutes. Seasonable from August to October. Note: when fresh mushrooms are not obtainable, the powder No. 477 may be used as a substitute for brown sauce. White mushroom sauce, to serve with boiled fowls, cutlets, etc. 1. 475. Ingredients. Rather more than half a pint of button mushrooms, lemon juice and water, 1 oz. of butter, half a pint of bechamel No. 367, quarter of a teaspoonful of pounded sugar. Mode. Turn the mushrooms white by putting them into lemon juice and water, having previously cut off the stalks and wiped them perfectly free from grit. Chop them and put them in a stewpan with the butter. When the mushrooms are softened, add the bechamel and simmer for about 5 minutes. Should they, however, not be done enough, allow rather more time. They should not boil longer than necessary, as they would then lose their colour and flavour. Rub the whole through a tammy and serve very hot. After this it should be warmed in a bain-marie. Time. Altogether, quarter of an hour. Average cost, 1 shilling. Seasonable from August to October. 2. A more simple method. 476. Ingredients: half a pint of melted butter made with milk, No. 380, half a pint of button mushrooms, 1 dessertspoonful of mushroom ketchup, if at hand, cayenne and salt to taste. Mode. Make the melted butter by recipe No. 380, and add to it the mushrooms, which must be nicely cleaned and free from grit, and the stalks cut off. Let them simmer gently for about 10 minutes, or until they are quite tender. Put in the seasoning and ketchup, let it just boil when serve. Time. Rather more than 10 minutes. Average cost 8d. Seasonable from August to October. Growth of the mushroom and other fungi. The quick growth of the mushroom and other fungi is no less wonderful than the length of time they live, and the numerous dangers they resist while they continue in a dormant state. To spring up like a mushroom in a night is a scriptural mode of expressing celerity, and this completely accords with all the observations which have been made concerning this curious class of plants. Mr. Sowerby remarks, "I have often placed specimens of the Phallus caninus by a window overnight, while in the egg form, and they have been fully grown by the morning." Mushroom powder. A valuable addition to sauces and gravies when fresh mushrooms are not obtainable. 477. Ingredients: half a peck of large mushrooms, 2 onions, 12 cloves, 1/4 ounce of pounded mace, 2 teaspoonfuls of white pepper. Mode. Peel the mushrooms, wipe them perfectly free from grit and dirt, remove the black fur, and reject all those that are at all worm-eaten. Put them into a stewpan with the above ingredients, but without water. Shake them over a clear fire till all the liquor is dried up, and be careful not to let them burn. Arrange them on tins and dry them in a slow oven. Pound them to a fine powder, which put into small dry bottles. Cork well, seal the corks, and keep it in a dry place. In using this powder, add it to the gravy just before serving, when it will merely require 1 boil up. The flavour imparted by this means to the gravy ought to be exceedingly good. Seasonable. This should be made in September, or at the beginning of October. Note, if the bottles in which it is stored away are not perfectly dry, as also the mushroom powder, it will keep good but a very short time. Pickled mushrooms. 478. Ingredients: sufficient vinegar to cover the mushrooms. To each quart of mushrooms, 2 blades of pounded mace, 1 ounce of ground pepper, salt to taste. Mode. Choose some nice young button mushrooms for pickling, and rub off the skin with a piece of flannel and salt, and cut off the stalks, if very large. Take out the red inside, and reject the black ones, as they are too old. Put them in a stewpan, sprinkle salt over them with pounded mace and pepper in the above proportion. Shake them well over a clear fire until the liquor flows, and keep them there until it is all dried up again. Then add as much vinegar as will cover them. Just let it simmer for 1 minute, and store it away in stone jars for use. When cold, tie down with bladder and keep in a dry place. They will remain good for a length of time, and are generally considered delicious. Seasonable. Make this the same time as ketchup, from the beginning of September to the middle of October. Nature of the mushroom. Locality has evidently a considerable influence on the nature of the juices of the mushroom, for it has been discovered after fatal experience that some species which are perfectly harmless when raised in open meadows and pasture lands become virulently poisonous when they happen to grow in contact with stagnant water or putrescent animal and vegetable substances. What the precise nature of the poison in fungi may be has not been accurately ascertained. A very rich and good mushroom sauce, to serve with fowls or rabbits. 479. Ingredients: 1 pint of button mushrooms, salt to taste, a little grated nutmeg, 1 blade of pounded mace, 1 pint of cream, 2 ounces of butter, flour to thicken. Mode. Rub the buttons with a piece of flannel and salt, to take off the skin. Cut off the stalks, and put them in a stewpan with the above ingredients, previously kneading together the butter and flour. Boil the whole for about 10 minutes, stirring all the time. Pour some of the sauce over the fowls, and the remainder serve in a tureen. Time. 10 minutes. Average cost 2s. Sufficient to serve with a pair of fowls. Seasonable from August to October. End of section 023.